The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Your visions will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. There's no coming to consciousness without pain. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Show me a sane man, and I will cure him for you. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am able to be whole. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Through pride, we are ever deceiving ourselves. But deep down below the surface of the average conscience, a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. There are as many nights as days, and the one is just as long as the other in a year's course. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Shame is a soul-eating emotion. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. The best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. To find out what is truly individual in ourselves, profound reflection is needed, and suddenly we realize how uncommonly difficult the discovery of individuality is. What you resist persists. The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment, and especially on their children, than the unlived life of the parent. The reason for evil in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. If there is anything that we wish to change in the child, we should first examine it and see whether it is not something that could be better changed in ourselves. Nights through dreams tell the myths forgotten by the day. It is often tragic to see how blatantly a man bungles his own life and the lives of others, yet remains totally incapable of seeing how much the whole tragedy originates in himself, and how he continually feeds it and keeps it going. Every human life contains a potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, then that life was wasted. Sensation tell us a thing is. Thinking tell us what it is this thing is. Feeling tells us what this thing is to us. We should not pretend to understand the world only by the intellect. We apprehend it just as much by feeling. Therefore, the judgment of the intellect is, at best, only the half of truth, and must, if it be honest, also come to an understanding of its inadequacy. I must also have a dark side if I am able to be whole. It all depends on how we look at things, and not on how things are in themselves. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. There can be no transforming of darkness into light, and of apathy into movement, without emotion. Words are animals, alive with a will of their own. Find out what a person fears most, and that is where he will develop next. Every mother contains her daughter in herself, and every daughter her mother, and every mother extends backwards into her mother and forwards into her daughter. Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. Midlife is the time to let go of an overdominant ego and to contemplate the deeper significance of human existence. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. The bigger the crowd, the more negligible the individual becomes. My whole being was seeking for something still unknown which might confer meaning upon the banality of life. The true leader is always led. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. Nobody, as long as he moves among the chaotic currents of life, is without trouble. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come, along with patience and equanimity. We are born at a given moment, in a given place, and like vintage years of wine, we have the qualities of the year and of the season in which we were born. It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves. The majority of my patients consisted not of believers, but of those who had lost their faith. I am no longer alone with myself, and I can only artificially recall the scary and beautiful feeling of solitude. This is the shadow side of the fortune of love. I don't aspire to be a good man. I aspire to be a whole man. The fool is the precursor to the saviour. Often the hands will solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. People don't have ideas. Ideas have people. Whenever we give up, leave behind, and forget too much, there is always the danger that the things we have neglected will return with added force. Intuition does not denote something contrary to reason, but something outside of the province of reason. Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you're just doing research. For better to come, good must stand aside. The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being.